Welcome to How's Your ePresence? This show is produced by ePresence, and I am Mark Galvin, the founder and president of that firm. We are so glad that you are here to discover more ways to solve marketing issues. We want to answer the burning questions that you have about digital marketing. So every show is teed up with a how do I, and you just fill in the blank. So as an example, here are some of the past shows. How to build a Facebook ad audience. We all need to know that today, right? And the other one, another example is how to start a podcast and grow its reach. Well, we talked about that. So you can check that out on our YouTube channel. We'll answer those questions. You can also catch us, of course, on LinkedIn and Facebook. And all of these shows are archived in those feeds. While we're very good at identifying guests like today's guests, we'd love to hear from you if there's anyone you'd like for us to meet, or if there's a topic you would like for us to address, let us know. We'll talk about that. Just respond to this channel or on our website at epresence.me, and we'll be happy to cover those. If you're just tuning in and you're joining us live, feel free to throw us a question right there in the chat box. Throw the question. We will ask it live of our guest. And we're going to talk about resumes today. So there's a lot of you on the LinkedIn side that may find that these topics we talk about today are really great. So we love interacting. Please ask us anything. So today, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about your brand and how you can use it to get a job. We're going to talk about professional profiles and how they mutually support your resume. And there's always a question in my webinars, does a resume and the LinkedIn profile need to match? We'll talk about all that fun stuff. So in the future, when you want to get back to the show, just simply go and search for ePresence, how to use your brand to get a job. We would love also to ask all of you guys to subscribe. So subscribe to this channel. You'll see it's right there. It's on this side of me. So hit that subscribe button. Why? You'll get a notification when we go live. So you can ask a question, place in the background, throw something at us right on the fly. We'd love to have you join us. And also this makes sure you get to see all of our great content because we're producing content for you that'll help you. Normally in the beginning of the show, we talk about our webinar. And you can see the little ticker at the bottom of the screen. If you'd like to join us for a webinar, we help people with their LinkedIn profile. We're going to talk about some of that today. If you need a better LinkedIn profile, click on one of those. Follow that little link there, and you can join us. If you want more about that, just hang around. We will talk about more of that at the end of the show. Well, let's get on with our show. Let's meet today's guest. Our guest is Shoni Bell with Summit Résumé Service. Shoni, where are you?
I'm right here. Hi, Mark.
Hi there. Now, for all of you that are watching, you see her name come up, and it looks like her name is Shoni. No, she pronounces her name as Shoni. So I am so thrilled to have you here today, Shoni. Tell me about Summit Résumé Service. What do you guys do?
So, well, it's just me, and I run a career services business. So I do everything from career coaching to resume writing, LinkedIn profiles, cover letters, and salary negotiations. So anything that someone may need to help them get their next job, I help people, all job seekers, with that.
I love that. I love that. So it's not just resumes. You're going to help people do everything that they need to do that'll help them land that next job. So you're really a consultant, it sounds like.
Kind of, yeah. I'm like the career guru for some people, maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to do all of this by yourself. And that's why I'm excited to talk about this today, is because there's so many different facets to really that strong career brand campaign that really helps people get their next job. And it's a lot of work. And so, yeah, I help people align with their goals and help them get all that stuff together.
I love that. And you know what? It is harder and harder today to really format your resume so that it can get past the automated tracking systems. You know, it's harder and harder every day to get all this done. So having a consultant like you is a great idea. And it sounds like you can adapt people into LinkedIn to make sure that they're working their LinkedIn profiles with the resume, because it is all one package. So I love that. I'm so glad you're here. And that's one of the reasons that you and I were connecting. We found each other, and this is interesting. We found each other on LinkedIn. We were going to speak. We were panelists on a program and ran into each other there and found that we have very similar lanes. And when you do this on LinkedIn, you build a stronger and more robust network. Now, you've done a lot of great things. You worked with the state of Colorado. You worked at St. Petersburg College. But I love that you went to UNLV and you got a minor in criminal justice. Now, how does that work for resume writing?
For resume writing, I mean, it just gives me more to talk about to clients, I guess. I was a sociology major and I had enough credits aligned to where I could get a minor, and criminal justice has just always fascinated me. And so I went with that, and I also got to intern for the Clark County Public Defender's Office, which was fascinating. Wow. So yeah, my natural curiosity, I try and pick things that I'm going to just learn more from all the time, and it was awesome.
And that type of experience can absolutely apply to understanding personalities, understanding people, because that's really part of how do you format a resume. You got to think about that audience. How do you communicate with that audience? So I can see how that could transfer. I think that's fascinating. I wish I had gotten a minor in criminal justice. Honestly, no joke. I think that would be really cool. But you've also done something else I think is really interesting, which uniquely qualifies you for what we're talking about today, because you are a nationally certified online profile expert, and you've got that certification from the National Resume Writers Association. Tell me about that certification and how it's helped you.
Sure. So I got my certification. It's been over a year now. I'm actually up for recertification here next month, I think. And I honestly didn't know a ton about LinkedIn before I took the certification. I knew how beneficial it was going to be for my business, for me to be able to consult with job seekers on that. And it just was mind blowing. And so my certification is all about injecting keywords and using keywords to build profiles so that you're searchable by recruiters. All these little nuances of LinkedIn. We talk a lot about networking and best practices with that. And I really love the certification because as you know, LinkedIn changes all the time. And so even now, we started about, I want to say like 6 months ago, we've now incorporated with my certification monthly calls to talk about changes. So it's always talking about best practices, things that we've found, maybe that we've discovered that's changed, and maybe some of the other, people that have certifications haven't known. So it's just great kind of brainstorming, ideas stuff about LinkedIn. And so I do that monthly as well. And yeah, it's been a great certification to have, and really just reinforced why I love LinkedIn.
Yeah, I will tell you the one thing that you said that I think is so important is that LinkedIn constantly changes. And with those changes, you've got to adapt to it. And I think it's almost more rapid fire now than it was. But last year they went through a major rehaul. The whole interface changed. And I had a lot of people call and say, what is going on? So understanding that, especially from the algorithmic perspective, is such a big deal. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm really interested in this. I'm going to look up that certification because I would like to learn from that as well. So I may call you. Actually, I will call you and get a tip on that. Maybe you can get a referral incentive if I were to sign up with those guys.
There you go.
Let's jump into some fun topics here. This is a term that's thrown around all the time. That term is personal brand. People hear about it. They talk about personal branding, and it's kind of a throwaway term. What does it mean to you, and why is it important?
So yeah, I'm always hesitant to use the word brand because it just sounds so kind of sterile to use with a human being, but it really is the best term to use. And personal branding is just who you are and what you represent, what your values are. It's the whole of you as an authentic person. So I look for my Summit Résumé Service. I really look at the career brand, the job that we're going for, not necessarily the job we have, but it's all the same thing. I have to bring in that the job seeker's personal brand and how that relates to their career goals and things like that. And it's really just being about your true authentic self and really taking a deep dive into what makes you you and what differentiates you from other people, from other job seekers. It's just you. I mean, there's really no long definition for it. It's just, and it's you representing that.
This is a very, it may not feel like a real big topic, but I do think it's worth bubbling up with everybody that's listening to this today. Your personal brand is what people remember about you. And a lot of that is going to happen through interactions, right? How do you show up? So if you decide that you're going to go see a client or interview for a job and you've got jeans that are really cool jeans, but they've got rips all over them, that does affect your personal brand. Now, I'll tell you, if you're going to interview at a jean shop, right, where they sell jeans, that's great, right? That's cool. But if you're going to interview in a more professional environment, that's a bad idea. The personal brand is that whole piece. And today, and this is where you really come in, great. Now that this is my brand, this is how I'm perceived outside, face to face. How do I put that on a resume? How do I get that on LinkedIn? When you get to that part and they're looking at a resume, what are some things that you focus on a resume that really promotes that personal brand? How do you do that?
So it's very, very difficult to do by yourself, which is why resume writers like myself even exist, because I hear it time and time again when I'm doing a free consultation with a client, and it's always like, they always say, it's really hard for me to talk about myself. And I get that, it is. And so what to answer your question directly, is the accomplishments and what you've done in previous work experience that really makes you stand out. And there's where we can differentiate you from the rest of the pack. And that's the hard part, is because a lot of us take for granted how great we are. And so I use really strategic questions. I continue to deep dive. I do follow-up questions to really drill down into that, because it's hard. Even when people are just talking to me, they're giving me kind of the, just a broad piece of the project maybe.
Sure.
And I have to really drill down into but how did you do that? And then we get somewhere. And so really for your resume, it's the accomplishments and again, what makes you stand out, but we get that from your accomplishments. And a lot of things is also to, maybe ask coworkers what makes you stand out, what they see in you that maybe we take for granted. Yeah. So one of the questions I'll ask is, what are you known for? And I tell people it's not bragging, and we call it the humble brag, but I always say bring the brag. Even if you want to define it as bragging, do it. This is the time to do it. But it's really hard to do it yourself. But yeah, accomplishments and then what you're known for at work are really the two.
I think that today, in the world of social media today, one of the challenges that I run across is that people do have a hard time wanting to talk about themselves, because there are people that are outliers that are so good at talking about themselves. It almost is it's like feature vomiting. They're like, oh, I'm so great. I'm so great. And you get a little tired of it. You don't want to look like that. And so people have a tendency to turn that volume down. But I'm understanding, and I think we get tired of doing what we do every day, right? What we do is not exciting to us because we're doing it every day. Well, what you do here's a great example. What you do on resumes could be, after you do it, you've done it for a week, I've just done my 20th resume. I'm so over this. The next person that runs into you, asks you a question about resumes, they're fascinated about it because you are the expert in that space. And it is so easy to forget that. And actually, you're probably a bad example, because you're going to get people. Here's what's great about doing what Shoni does. She gets it every single time she does a resume. Someone is going to say to her one-on-one, wow, you're great at this. Shoni, you get that, don't you? Happens a lot.
My recommendations on LinkedIn kind of prove that. It's even tough for me, but that's what I pride myself on is pulling that out of people. And then I have the superpower being able to put it on a resume and a LinkedIn profile. It's just, that I love doing it. I love helping people and then giving them the benefit of confidence. So yes, I do. I love that,
right? You and I we typically get some feedback. Like I did a webinar today at lunch and I had 10 people hit me after and said, that was great. If I'm working in a desk job and I'm not I'm not interacting with people that often, what I do can get boring. But what we do, each of our own individual spaces, is interesting to our audience. So just identify your audience and know that they're going to want to hear that. I love that. So how can someone manage your personal brand if they have a job, but they want to prepare for the next job? Oh, that never happens, right? Yeah. How do they do that?
Well, the best resumes are and LinkedIn profiles are targeted and focused. So if you know what your next career goal and step is, then that's half the battle. Because I do work with job seekers that they have no idea. They know they're burnt out. They know they're not challenged anymore. And then we start with career coaching. But to answer your question, like if you're targeted and you know exactly what you want to do next, then you're ready for a resume in your LinkedIn profile, because that's the most important thing, is that you know what that next step is going to be. Right. Even if you're changing careers, if you're changing industries, if you know what you want to do, you can manage the, transferable skills and all that as long as you're focused. So yeah, and then you just start, there's tons of resources out there for writing a resume, but again, it's hard for a lot of us to write about ourselves. But if you're targeted and focused, like you're ready to do your resume and LinkedIn profile.
So I do think this is really interesting. We have a tendency to think today that if we have a job, we're currently employed, I don't plan on leaving it, I don't have to worry about my personal brand, right? I don't have to worry about LinkedIn. What do you think about that? Is that true?
No. No. And if
I think I knew the answer to that, but
yeah, no, this last year has proven it. I mean, I've been on the phone with multiple people that have just been like, my company's starting to do layoffs. I'm not sure I'm going to make the cut, or, their industry's changed. I get a lot of hospitality industry folks that are just like, I've been in this industry for 20 years. It's really served me well, but I am burnout. Everything's changed. I've done my best, and I want to take my skills and what I know I can bring and just go to a different industry. So no, it should always be changing. I mean, I still like go into my LinkedIn profile and make sure that my profile is accurate and really authentic. I mean, I do that still. And so it's always good to update your resume, and especially if you haven't touched it in 15, 20 years, even 10 years, so much has changed. And I see that all the time too. And I always tell people when we're scheduling their call, I was like, send me your resume. I said, no judgment zone. Like I've seen it all, but I see so much antiquated formatting, objectives, references on the resume. Like we don't do that anymore. And so no, you should keep that updated, because you never know. Plus, what if your dream job's like right around the corner and you just didn't know it? Like better be prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So we're talking a lot about resumes and LinkedIn. Tell me this, should they match? Should your resume and LinkedIn profile be mirror images of each other?
I don't know about mirror image, but I call them companion pieces. They should reflect the same person. So I
like that word, companion pieces. That's really good.
Thank you. I use that one a lot with my clients. Like if someone were to go to your LinkedIn first and then ask for your resume, it should be the same person. So again, mirror image, I don't know if I would go that far, because there's so much more you can do on LinkedIn. But they definitely should be the same person. So that's why I like to call them companion pieces. And then vice versa. If someone looks at your resume and you have this great LinkedIn profile, and so we're putting the URL for your LinkedIn on your resume, and before they even schedule you for an interview, but they're intrigued by your resume, they go check you out on LinkedIn, it's the same person. So again, it's that companion piece that is, and that is targeted and focused. To take it back to there, when you have that and you're ready, then you can build those two things.
Oh, I love that. So can we talk real honestly here?
Okay.
I hate emojis on a LinkedIn profile. It's one of those things like, oh, what are you doing? What do you think? Is that a good thing, or is it a bad thing when somebody builds a resume with lots of emojis?
Well, resume or LinkedIn? Definitely not on a resume.
But did I say resume? I meant LinkedIn. I meant LinkedIn on the profile. Yeah. Or even on the resume. Do you have people that do emojis on the resume?
Oh, no.
Okay.
They shouldn't. No. So LinkedIn profiles, that's interesting. I think, one thing I would wonder is which emojis are you speaking about? Because I use technically emojis when I'm building LinkedIn profiles, and I have them on my own. I think there's a time and place for them. I don't, I'm not using on a job seekers, I'm not putting the face emojis or anything like that. But I have had clients where maybe they're in more of a creative space for their work. And so some of those emojis, again, not face emojis, but some of, like the stars and diamonds and, kind of just really professional looking emojis maybe. They serve a purpose there. They also serve a purpose to draw the eye to things that you want a recruiter to see. So you can be strategic with your emojis and not just dumping them randomly. Like, I like to make sure that there's a time and a place, but that it makes sense for the profile as well.
So I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile here. In fact, I can share my screen here. And what I think is really, you okay if I do that?
Sure.
Okay. I didn't tell you I was going to do that, so it's probably a good idea to make
if I was embarrassed for you to show my profile.
So what I like about this is that you do have emojis on your profile, but it makes good sense, because as I'm looking at your headline here, you come in with an arrow that says honest, empathetic career coach, and you have an emoji, and I see it as translates into, that's how I would see that emoji. It works really well there. Not just a random yay or other stuff, which, you sometimes see those. And then down here, champion for your success, and you have a trophy. I like that.
Thank
you. Works really well. And you're right, it does catch your eye. I like to say to folks, you should not have emojis on your profile unless you are in the type of career that emojis make sense, right? Like I always, on my webinars, I always will say, if you're in a circus, then have emojis. If you are a lawyer, having emojis on your profile, probably not the best idea, but the way you're conveying it, here's something else. Here's why I like it on yours, because you are in social media, you're using that space, and having some of those, if you will, the social media vernacular appear on your profile, I think is perfectly appropriate. That works great. It's also knowing this is my audience. They're going to expect me to be a social media savvy person. So here's a way I can use emojis to convey a good message. So I like that. I think that works. Keeping a message, keeping your audience in mind, I think is a big deal. Mm-hmm. So I have seen resumes that are 10 pages long. Actually, I think they call those CVs. That's a whole different thing.
Right.
And I've seen resumes that are 1 page long. What is the right length of a resume?
There's no right answer for that. It's the unfortunate answer of it depends. I like to write really tight and concise. If I could get every resume on 1 page, I would, but it's just not feasible. And depending on the length of, your experience or the job that you're going for, 2 pages, completely fine. It really does just depend. And you mentioned like CVs, academia, you can go into very, very lengthy, many pages for that. Some federal resumes for the government, because they want every single thing on there, they can be multiple pages, more than 2. That's why it depends. So there's no hard, fast rule that needs to be 1 or 2. What I would say is if it's not at least 1.5 pages, try and get it to 1 or get it to the full 2. Too much blank space is really the problem.
Oh, wow. I haven't really thought about that before. Yeah, I bet you get resumes that are 1.5 pages, and that's not a good look.
1.5 pages is pushed. Like that's the long, like that would be maybe okay. But yeah, like 1.75 pages, we either need to get you to 1 page. And that's just, being, knowing Microsoft Word and how to adjust margins and things like that. There's all these little tricks of the trade to either get it all onto 1 page or expand it to 2 pages. And that's where your, other professional resume writers like myself come in and really think of the aesthetics as well. Because you mentioned the applicant tracking software. So I call it a dance that we have to do, because we need to make sure the formatting is going to get you through the ATS system, but also it's going to be appealing to the human reader. And so, yeah, it's a dance that we have to do. And yeah.
So ATS is an interesting development in modern resumes. I've heard of people putting words that are blank, right? They're on the page, but they are see-through words. So when they print, they don't appear. Is that still a good tactic to try to embed words than in, hidden text on your resume?
Yeah, people use white text to get through the ATS system. Yeah, I've seen that before. No, it's terrible. And now I know that like there's some HR people that are onto that, and so they're finding it, and then they're like, "Well, you're just being, deceitful, and so we're not going to interview you." I've seen threads posts on that. But I would like to mention this because we're talking about LinkedIn is the worst way to, or the least effective way, let me correct that. The least effective way to get a job is to apply online. And ATS is part of that. It's a huge part of that because you have to be so strategic. And so networking, time and time again, research has shown is the way that you get your next job. And so LinkedIn is one of the best resources for networking. Other than also, telling your friends and family and being specific, having that target and be like, this is the kind of job I'm looking for. It saves you a lot of time and energy as well, but I'm sure you know that. It's just networking is it's just the best way to get your next job and the most effective and how people get their next job. And so relying on just applying and crossing your fingers, I mean, that's just deflates your self-esteem and it's terrible. And yeah, that system, I know it was put in place for companies that get a lot of applicants and things like that. I see the benefit on that side of it, but for job seekers, it's really not great.
This is to me very interesting because it is easy to think that I can just send out a whole bunch of resumes through the online application systems and I've optimized my resume and I should get a hit. However, what you've said is absolutely true, is that networking is the key way to get into the door. It's how you get your resume on the top of the list versus the bottom. But there's something else that you just said that is not traditional, and that is you can network on LinkedIn. You can find somebody on LinkedIn, develop a relationship with them through LinkedIn, and that can help you open other doors. Like you and I, we've never met in person. We've had a number of conversations. We really did connect through cyber, and it is worth it. You can do it. So I encourage you, and I'm right here with Shoni. You've got to think about this. You can develop relationships with people online. They have to be willing, right? Shoni, you were willing to talk to me. There was a commonality there, and I think that's the trick. I think that's important to say. There has to be some sort of commonality. There has to be a reason that the other person is going to talk to you. There has to be mutual benefit. Shoni and I were going to be on a panel together. We decided let's connect and talk before we get on that panel, even though the panel never happened, but that's another story. So we connected before, and it was good. So look for those opportunities. Yes, you're not going to get in person these days. There's not going to be networking groups where you're in person, but you can still meet people online. Just look for people that have a common interest. Shoni, we are out of time. So I love this conversation. We could go on and on and on.
Yes,
I wish, for those of you that are interested in asking questions and would like to tease out some more from Shoni, share with everybody, how can they find you online so that they can tap into your great knowledge?
Sure. So I'm obviously on LinkedIn. I have a personal profile page as well as a business page, but the LinkedIn Shoni Bell, that's me. So you can follow my posts and all that kind of stuff. Message me, reach out for a connection. Again, LinkedIn only works when you're active and engaged on it. Or visit my website, summitresumeservice.com. If any of the services that I mentioned, resume writing is what you need. I really pride myself on communication and collaboration with each of my clients. So
fantastic. Yeah. Oh, I love it. And hey, folks out there, for those of you that are listening on the podcast, Shoni is Shoni. I wanted to call her Shoni when I first saw her name, but it is Shoni Bell, and Bell, Bell. You can find her on LinkedIn. Shoni-Bell is her handle on LinkedIn, so you can track her down there. Well, Shoni, I love that you spent time with us today. Let's stay in touch.
Absolutely.
I always have people that are looking to get a better resume, maybe able to send you some business. So that would be a good thing. But stay in touch. I know that we'll end up having another opportunity to get on another panel. This one will happen, I'm sure.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, for the rest of you folks, here's the deal. You know that we continue with our training. We're always running webinars. We have added LinkedIn Webinar 2.0. So 1.0, We'll help you with your LinkedIn profile, a lot like what Shoni and I were just talking about. We get your profile up to speed. 2.0 is growing your connections. How do you manage posting? How do you prospect on LinkedIn? We'll go through all that fun stuff. So please look for joining us. You can find us. There's a little ticker on the bottom of the screen, e-pr.me/discount, e-pr.me/discount. And you can join us. We have those going every other week on Fridays. I like Fridays. It's kind of a nice way to toast the weekend, and I really enjoy doing those. So join us there. If you join us and you don't think it's worth your time, you don't like it, I'll refund your money. It's $37.50. I'll refund your money and pay you $20 because I know it's worth your time. But if it's not worth your time, I've taken an hour from you. I'll give it back to you in $20. If you make more than $20 an hour, I'm sorry, but I'll pay you $20. So for the rest of you, for everyone else, thank you for joining. How's your e-presence? If you're curious about our company, I don't know where that word came from. Curious about our company, this is what we do. We manage social media for everybody, companies, individuals, executives. We help college students. We have services for everything. You want somebody to run your ad campaign because you're not getting enough ROI from social, you should call us. We understand how to connect to your target audience so that you don't have to worry about that. Go on about your day job. We'll make sure we get customers in the door. That's our mission. That's how we can help you. You can find us at epresence.me, epresence.me, because it's all about you. Or give us a call. 404-939-8094 is our number. If you go there and you mention how's your e-presence, we will give you a 5% discount on our services. Let's get back to the show. How's your e-presence is everywhere. You can catch us live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn like you have here. Please subscribe. So if you will, hit that button right there, subscribe so you know when we're live, because you can come on and ask us a question. If you like today's content, well, I've already said that. You can catch us as a podcast too. So as a podcast listener, we drop these episodes everywhere. iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, even on your Amazon Echo. We're always adding content every week, so you can stay up to date on all things business and social media. So be sure to add us and follow us on your podcast app and give us some ratings there. We'd love that. Or you can always go to our website, epresence.me, to catch all of our shows. Well, this show is produced by ePresence. Our producer is Eric Welch. I'd like again to thank our guest, Shoni Bell, for joining us. Until next time, I'm Mark Galvin, and this has been How's Your ePresence?